Akhenaten, the pharaoh of ancient Egypt, a cobra-crowned, gold-clad superboss. Born around 1380 BC, he entered this world and left the beginning of his story. Egypt was rich and powerful then, and Akhenaten's father Amenhotep III was a capable king who allowed Egypt's culture and wealth to flourish like a spring flower. A few years later, when Akhenaten grew to manhood, he inherited his father's crown and began his reign in the first 1353 BC. His early rule was nothing special, continuing his father's policy of keeping the country prosperous by having fun with the people. However, this peaceful day did not last long. Akhenaten suddenly changed his beliefs and began to worship Aten, the god of the sun, and declared that Aten was the only god. This was a shock to everyone because there were many gods in ancient Egypt, and Akhenaten now wanted everyone to believe in only one god. At this point, Akhenaten is like a dancer on stage, giving his all, but the audience is confused and bewildered by his steps. To give his new faith a solid base, Akhenaten founded a new city on the east bank of the Nile and named it Aten, which means the horizon of Arden. Akhenaten moved his palace to this new city and began his new world of the sun god. However, Akhenaten's changes were not accepted by all. His new beliefs and policies sparked much opposition and conflict, causing turmoil in the country. At this point, Akhenaten was like a captain sailing alone in a turbulent sea with faith, but with growing challenges. In the midst of all this turmoil, Akhenaten's career came to an end. In 1336 BC, he left this world. The cause of his death is still a mystery. Some say he was murdered, others say he died of disease. In any case, his career came to an end amidst turmoil and change. However, Akhenaten's story did not end with his death. His new faith, his new city, and his impact on Egypt have made him as much a part of history as he was in life, and his influence continues to shine in the world. From birth to death, from rise to fall, the story of Akhenaten is full of twists and turns. He was a man who challenged tradition and pursued his faith, and a king who persevered in the face of adversity. Like the Nile River, his story is one of prosperity and change, leading us to explore the history of ancient Egypt.
What can we learn from Akhenaten? Akhenaten's life is a stirring drama, full of challenges and innovations, and his life has left much to think about and learn from. Akhenaten was a leader with strong convictions. He firmly believed in his idea that Aten, the sun god, was the only god. This kind of firmness in his beliefs is undoubtedly impressive. In our lives, perhaps we can learn from Akhenaten how to stand firm in our beliefs and how to maintain our position in the face of challenges and pressures. However, Akhenaten's story also makes us reflect on the relationship between faith and practice. Akhenaten's new faith raised many questions and caused turmoil in his rule. It may make us think about how we can hold on to our own beliefs, while respecting the beliefs and perspectives of others, and how we can push for change while taking into account the impact it may have on society and people. The story of Akhenaten is also a story of leadership and power. Akhenaten's power came from his throne, but his influence went far beyond his power. His innovations and changes affected not only his rule, but also the history of ancient Egypt. This makes us think that true leadership does not only come from power, but from being able to guide people and influence their thoughts and behaviors. Akhenaten's life was one of challenge and change, and his story gives us a glimpse of a leader with strong faith, a willingness to challenge convention for the sake of his faith, and the power to influence. However, his story also reminds us that while holding on to faith, it is important to respect others, to consider the impact of change, and to recognize that true leadership does not just come from power. How do we apply this to the way we live in the world? The story of Akhenaten's life has left us with many valuable lessons that we can apply to our lives and cultivation. Thorough consideration. Akhenaten's change of beliefs did not fully consider the possible implications. When we make decisions or take action, we also need to consider all the implications, including the impact on others, society, and ourselves. Courage in the face of adversity. Akhenaten faced many challenges and opposition to his change of faith, but he did not back down, demonstrating his courage in the face of adversity. In our lives, We should have the courage to face up to challenges, whether they are in our lives or at work. Understanding and inclusion. Akhenaten's life teaches us that sometimes we need to be more understanding and inclusive when our point of view is different from that of others. We need to develop a broader perspective, respect other people's views, and try to understand their positions and feelings, balancing dreams and reality. Akhenaten's attempts to realize his vision of all people worshiping one God caused many problems. This teaches us that we need to learn how to balance our dreams with reality. When we have big ideas and dreams, we need to take into account the limitations and possible difficulties of reality. Learning and growing. Akhenaten's life is not just a historical story, but also a personal process of learning and growing. Although he encountered many difficulties in implementing his reforms, they were all part of his growth. In our lives, we should also see every difficulty as an opportunity to learn and grow. Words of encouragement. It is not because there is hope that one perseveres, but because one perseveres that there is hope. It is not because there is a chance that we strive for, but it is because we strive for that we have a chance. It is not because we have grown that we shoulder responsibility, but because we shoulder responsibility that we will grow. It is not because we know how to do that we do, but it is because we do that we know how to do. It is not because we give after we have, but because we give then we will have. It is not to be grateful after we gain something, but to be grateful then we will gain something.